Zeeda, hi. Thanks for having me on tonight. I'm excited to be here. I haven't been on the radio much. I'm actually the founder and editor of RevelationNow.net, and through the Holy Spirit, I've been able to make some amazing and sometimes startling discoveries and even epiphanies within the realm of spirituality and spiritual warfare. And I actually was on a radio show with Kathy a few months ago, and we actually discussed many of the discoveries that I had with the silver and the golden gates that were above many of the massacres that we've had, like the Batman massacre, Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing. We've seen the same star constellations over them, and they're called the silver and the golden gate. And what they signify are the entrance into the heavens and the exit out of the heavens. And so I actually discovered these gate systems over all the places that I just told you. And from there, I was able to build a spiritual profile on what's happening with these massacres. And basically what we've discovered is that in conjunction with the silver and golden gate over these massacre sites, these massacres have also been on ley lines, and the ley lines lead to temple systems, ancient temple structures that were used for blood sacrifice and rituals. These ancient cultures like the Aztecs and the Mayans, who all worshipped serpent gods. And to me, that was very interesting because 2 Corinthians 4:4 says that Satan is the god of this world, and Satan is also synonymous with what? The serpent. So you're seeing all these cultures that actually worship the serpent, and now you're seeing a correlation of stargates and ley lines leading to these ancient temple systems, like the temple in Mexico, Teotihuacan, where they're basically the ley line leads directly to this temple. So you're also seeing a conjunction of star constellations that have stars telling a story. Like at the same moment of the Navy Yard shooting, at the exact same time, the temple was aligned with the horn of Taurus, which is called El Nath. And when you define it, it actually means wounded or slain. So there's definitely a star relationship, a constellation that's being used against us in the spiritual realm of spiritual warfare. So that's something that we actually discussed in detail. And I don't know if Casey's on right now, but he was very instrumental in giving me some new insights in how all that was working as well, based on his background. And we actually chatted a couple days later and had some really interesting, energetic and informative phone conversations based on that. And next, I was actually looking at the new $100 bill, and there was a big announcement through the blog sphere through different researchers that work within the body of Christ that had discovered that when you fold up the new $100 bill, it shows a new location that looks like it's going to be. I think it looked like a missile was hitting an area, and then it also looks like a tidal wave was going over buildings. So I don't know exactly what that area is, but I decided to look deeper into the money, and I actually put the new $100 bill under my microscope. I have a digital microscope, so I actually looked into the windows of Independence Hall on the $100 bill, and at 60 times magnification, I was shocked to see Hebrew-esque symbols in the windows.
Okay, there's one thing that I caught in this whole thing, which I'm going to add to your conversation, and that is the gematria of the whole thing. You remember seeing some videos a while back, and these were videos both of the moon and of the sun at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside either one, you would see a cube. And nobody knew what this cube was all about.
And the satellite pictures you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Soho.
Yeah. And so this cube is the exact gematria of the squares that you're talking about. And it is all done... magic would not be the word I'd be using for it. Oh my, I must have hit on something good because they just jammed up my headphones. Okay, I'm just going to try and ignore that sound. So they put the cubes outside of there. These cubes exactly in the sky match the same measurements as God says that the New Jerusalem will be when it comes here. So what they've done is they've taken all of those measurements and matched them up to the cubes in the sky to the cubes down here, but in a different geometrics, which Casey, when he comes on, will be able to share this with us because he knows about all of this as well.
Right.
So this geometrics is also set up then outside of the World Towers, or the Twin Towers building that went down, the new one they have put up.
Yeah, I've seen them, the two squares. Yep, absolutely.
Right, and those squares are going to act as keys. And once that those cubes are filled, those squares are filled with cubes, those cubes will be keys that will open the abyss.
I've always thought that there was something very, very nefarious about the New World, the Freedom Tower. And I actually have a friend of mine that worked in construction on it, like a foreman, and it was right before my wife got sick and everything, so I never went there. But he was basically showing me some of the plans. I actually got to see some of the blueprints that they were doing, and I immediately noticed that because I did some research on the planet Saturn, and there was on the North Pole, there's a hexagon spinning. I mean, you could fit like 4 Earths inside of it. It's that huge. And it's also a cube. When you break down the hyperdimensions of it, you can turn it into a cube. And so I actually put out the very first video. I made a correlation with that cube that's spinning on Saturn, and the way that it looked. I made a correlation with the Kabbalah in Mecca, and the people walk around the cube in a counterclockwise rotation, exactly the same way that if you look on the North Pole of Saturn, you could actually superimpose them in each other, and it almost like it's the same rhythm and the same motion. And I think that there's a connection there as well. So there's some type of, I don't like calling it magic either, Kathy, because there's a science behind this, and it's just because we don't understand it, we want to call it magic. And I think that kind of devalues everything when we call it magic, but it's more of a science that we just don't know.
Yeah, it's a science that has always existed since before time. Before our time, certainly, on this earth. And what Casey and I touched on this a little bit today. It's a science that was actually used during the creation of this world. Only God has this science, but Satan keeps trying to break it. So he's using this matrix, symbolism, to make us think that he has broken it. But in fact, if he had broken it, you and I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's how the Jews cut diamonds, by this.
Right, exactly.
I know all about it.
Run that by me again. You said the Jews they cut diamonds. What's the relevance of that?
On the Sephiroid, it's all done by the dimensions and how they do it.
Of the gematria that they use in the Kabbalah, right. But why did they do that? They even copied that from the Bible. What does Jesus say? Jesus allows us to go through all of these trials and tribulations to build us up as the diamond he's looking for. Harden us up. Everything that Satan does, he does to copy God.
Yeah, I call him a spiritual bootlegger.
There you are. That's a good one. I like it.
That is a good one. Yeah, because each one has a fraction of light. I know, I was taught this, but I have forgotten a lot. See how if you don't keep up with it? Because I know the Malhut is your kingship, very beginning of, the way that they cut from the Sephiroid, whatever you want, the tetragrammaton or whatever, but the crown is at the top, and that's the white light. You know, they each one, the Hassad, it has different colors, and the Hoid and the Jivora, all of that, and it means strength, kindness, and each one has their meaning: wisdom, understanding, knowledge. You know, so, and there's a fraction of light that goes to that. So when they cut the diamond, you know, it puts off all these fractions of light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they put ritual to everything. There's just very little that the Jews don't put ritual to. And that's why Jesus said in the Word, God hates our traditions of men. He hates them.
No, for me, I just think people need to realize that they're carrying around magic, you know, squares in their pocket, and what are we supposed to do as believers to negate it? I mean, we're actually, if you have the cash in your pocket or the cash in your account or your safety deposit box, I mean, they did this with a specific purpose in mind. What are we supposed to do to stop it? I mean, how do we tear down these spiritual turrets that are pointed toward us? Because everything that's happened with this money seems to be predictive, and they are using it for, I don't even call them false flags, because if you saw the Trade Center go down, you know that there were people in there, and people are on this, it's a false flag kick, but people are actually dying.
And they are in all of these false flags. A certain amount of them are.
Sure, because that's the sacrificial lamb that they are,
right.
The blood sacrifice.
Right, yeah.
And I think there's something to that, now that you said blood sacrifice as well, because there's pictures of, like, there's a pyramid in Mexico, Chichen Itza, and a gentleman was there with his family, maybe a year or last year, maybe 2 years ago, but he had taken a picture of his kids in front of the pyramid in Chichen Itza, and you could, with his iPhone, by the way, and you could see a beam of, like, pink light emanating from where the capstone would be. And so I knew that it must have been real, because Yahoo and Gawker.com, they wanted to just repudiate it and say it was a glitch in the phone. But when I had done additional research, other pyramids were actually caught on film as well, doing the same thing, like the pyramid in Bosnia and the pyramid of the sun and the pyramid of the moon. People actually